ROI advertising payment options. So the WiDirect's been in quite a few scenarios with prior customers, current customers I should say, where it generates money for them through advertising or through billing. Obviously some of the big ones are banner ads, Google's. If your customer likes to sell advertising locally, that can all be put into splash screens or pop-ups and things like that. And then you can also do a tiered service. So maybe the first half hour is free with viewing an ad, and then you go in after a half hour and say, all right, if you want to keep using this service, there's a daily charge of $5 or whatever. And that is all 100% up and running. It's been done. People do it all the time with WiDirect MY Client. So bandwidth control. This is kind of an interesting topic because when you're scaling to multiple locations, either nationwide, worldwide, what have you, you're going to have different bandwidth injection points. And what I mean by different is you're going to have different amounts of bandwidth available. So the WiDirect can adjust bandwidth at that location centrally, which is a good feature. If you've got a DSL line at one point, and then you have a 10 meg Ethernet fiber connection at another point, the bandwidth's obviously going to have to be different between those two locations and what the end user is allowed to use. So you can centrally manage it and then have specifics at any given location. So one of the other things that the WiDirect does that is very, very unique is that once you log in, you are centrally logged in. Your credentials are held. So if you go to the mall and then you go across town to the pizza place and they're both managed by a WiDirect, your credential is there. It's saved. You have 100% mobility. The central management, we've discussed quite a bit of that. Some other things that we can do is some port priority in retail settings where the retailer is using the network for their internal purposes, and they want to turn on part of it to the public. Obviously, they wanted to prioritize some things for themselves. Port priorities, say VoIP for Wi-Fi phones, things like that. Site security, there's a lot of things built into the WiDirect and WiClient platform that you can utilize to identify users, sending them emails, making sure that they are who they are. That comes in very handy if the FBI comes knocking and asks who downloaded the latest Lady Gaga song. We actually deal with that quite a bit. And then our customer service. We have, I hate to say it this way, but we have probably the happiest customer base out there. We get quite a few accolades for the amount of service we provide our customers. We don't ever let anybody hang out in the dry. So if you get an appliance or a product and you're not quite sure how it operates, there's always someone here to help. And real quick, along with the service, we also offer hosted services. So let's say you don't have a NOC or an office with a big internet pipe or something like that. If you wanted to simply just put out WiClients and authenticate users or show them ads and monetize this process very quickly, essentially deploy overnight, we offer hosted services in the cloud. So what that does is it makes it very inexpensive to get started. At any given point, what you can do is buy your own WiDirect appliance when that makes sense, put it in, migrate all your WiClients over to your WiDirect, and you are you're making money a lot quicker then. Our hosted services are a flat fee, so there's no costs associated with that would be a surprise. Hosting services start at $15.99 a month per device, and it goes up from there. So real-world applications. It's hard to know everybody that's on the phone, but I would assume there's some WISPs and mesh operators there. One of the things that the WiDirect also does, if you're currently running a network and you're looking to expand it, it makes that process very easier because it becomes the gateway portal for all your devices. And you can have then centralized management over legacy and new deployments. Retail and commercial, I mentioned that earlier as well. So let's say you're overlaying in a mall, and there's people who use the mall network for their own internal purposes. So you're overlaying essentially on an SSID. That SSID or SSIDs then could become the part of the network that the WiDirect monetizes. Obviously, greenfield build-outs, it would make a natural choice as well there. Campus environments, international deployments. We have several customers that operate hotspots in several different countries. So that's very convenient that you can essentially manage APs from around the world. Temporary coverage, things like concert venues, sporting events, things like that. And then, of course, the advertising-based or pay-per-use model. You see that a lot in things like marinas or city centers or things of that nature. So that's it. Kate's name's on here. She'd be the person to contact with any kind of questions on specifics about how the box operates. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, please look to the right of your screen or the chat box in a Q&A. Typing in either box will suffice.
All right.
We have one person who asked if someone can email them info and docs. If you're referring to this presentation, I will be sending out an email a little bit later this afternoon with the presentation or recording and any other info that pertains to the presentation.
Right, and with regard to AllCity Wireless and the WiDirect and WiClient, what you would do is either send it to the sales at AllCity Wireless or Kate M at AllCity Wireless. All right, we have another question, and let's see, what's the typical per AP cost in broad terms? So the AP cost, Robert, if you want to take a whack at that.
The AP cost, Travis, I can leave that up to you because I'm not quite sure how much you guys are quoting out the customers as far, but I wouldn't say the AP itself no more than $100. I would say. I mean the AP itself is pretty practical in price, very less expensive than like our competitors out there.
Travis?
Yeah, whatever the list price is, right, if you have that offhand, and then obviously...
okay, well, why don't you look that up real quick. Got another question, 3 contacts from 3 different companies. If you have specific questions about the technology, whether it be WiDirect or the TP-Link, you can contact us directly to have that information. But purchases would be made through Moonblink, so that's why there's 3 different companies listed here. So with respect to the cost of the AP, I can't quote the firmware, but I can't quote the hardware, but the firmware is $99 list per device, per TP-Link. If you were looking at putting a Y client in front of a grouping of TP-Link access points, that price is $795 list, and it goes up from there depending on the size of the box.
For the hardware itself, list price on it will be $49.99 MSRP price.
Okay, so for a deployable device, you're looking at under $150. Who is your main competition in the marketplace? The main competition would be something along the lines of. See, this is a tough question to answer, because to have a complete turnkey solution, you're not going to be going to any one vendor. There are some companies out there that do like a direct backhaul VPN type of scenario, but the moment you lose the VPN connectivity, the access point dies. And so, as you can imagine, through a router or an added firewall, that could be an issue. In addition to that, there are no companies out there that do the user management, the user experience, and the credit card processing all under one platform. So, to answer John's question out there, I'm not aware of anybody that does this with one box, one client, boom, end of story. Plug it in, set it, and forget it. So that would, I guess, negate your question about the price points being similar. Let's see what else.
I have another question here, Phil.
Okay.
So it says, is the pricing based on a per device cost and not a per customer cost?
Right. So with respect to the pricing, the device is you purchase the device. Each device you purchase, if you want to have that centrally managed by a WiDirect or WiDirect Cloud Services, you do have to buy the firmware activation license. It will still run with the firmware. It just will not connect to a centralized managed WiDirect without the activation license. So each device is a fee. Now, there's no ongoing fees with regard to maintenance or software or anything of that nature. And if you need a specific quote, let's say you have something in mind, Moonblink would be happy to get you an email quote. All right, WiDirect. All right, we got a question of. It is a Linux box. That is accurate, yes. With regard to the hardware, it is all Intel-based hardware. So there's nothing odd about the hardware. So we find that we use all Intel, then as new hardware comes down the pike, we don't run into many driver issues or dependencies. Okay. Any more questions?
I have another question here. It says, can I get all the details in an email? And like we said previously, I'll make the PowerPoint available. And then, Phil, if you guys could send over any documents you think that would fit well with sending out, I can send those out too. Certainly.
Just real quick, all our documents are available online at AllCity Wireless, allcitywireless.com, and you can download a spec sheet there, and then for specific pricing for individual models, I would suggest getting a hold of Moonblink Communications. The only thing that we can quote or even convey, we can't quote, is list price. We don't sell directly. Okay. Anything else?
That looks to be everything.
All right. Well, on behalf of AllCity Wireless, thank you very much for everybody's time today. Any questions, technical questions, we're happy to answer. We're here to answer all your questions. And any sales-related questions, please reach out to Moonblink.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks, Phil. Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Robert. And thanks to all the attendees for making it out.
All right, guys. Thank you.